Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Misinformation in Science and Society. Here to listen, not to judge. I'm Annie, and today with us we have Julie Smith, who is a professor, a speaker, and an author that focuses on media literacy.
Oh, there.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, so I guess I can introduce myself.
Yeah,
Um,
tell me what you're working on.
yeah, I'm Annie. I'm a rising junior in high school. I live in Illinois.
What part of Illinois?
Hmm?
What part of Illinois?
The northern suburbs.
Okay, my sister lives in Naperville.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
I have some
and
friends there.
and I grew up in Southern Illinois in Edwardsville, right across the river from St. Louis.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so Illinois girls, yay.
Yeah. Um, and then I started doing this project because I noticed a lot of like misinformation, especially like during COVID, like recently, and also like on social media and stuff. Um, and then yeah, and I saw that you were like working on like similar stuff. So that's
Yeah,
why I
so
reached
what's
out.
what's the project for? Is it for a class or is it just something fun you're doing?
It's just like a personal like outside of school project thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very entrepreneurial of you.
Thank you. Yeah, so could you please kind of like introduce yourself as
You bet.
well?
My name is Julie Smith, and I teach in the School of Communications at Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri.
Cool. So
And
what
also, I don't know if this matters. I'm the author of Master the Media: How Teaching Media Literacy Can Save Our Plugged-in World.
yeah, I saw that. I had a question later for that.
Okay,
Um
good.
yeah, so why did you choose this career?
Actually, the career kind of chose me, Annie.
Oh.
Um, I never grew up saying, "Oh, I want to teach in college."
Mhm.
I ended up in graduate school and I fell in love with this topic called media literacy. And I found a school that was willing to kind of take me on as a project to try to start a media literacy class. And this was 25 years ago. So back then it was all about, I want to teach people how to watch TV because that was the extent of it, right?
Mhm.
So I ended up teaching like one class at the university and I just loved it. And I was like, oh, I think I'm kind of good at this. Like it feels good to be talking about something that I love and getting
Oh.
people excited about something that I love. And then with the internet taking off and then all of the there's so many things happening at once, like we really don't get news from traditional sources anymore, and we
Mhm.
can create things that look real,
Mhm.
and we don't we communicate now with people in our little social media bubbles, so it's like the perfect recipe for all of this false information to fly around. And misinformation has been around forever,
Mhm.
but now what do they say, now it travels at the speed of light. So
Yeah,
it's, if we like the message, we're less likely to check it for authenticity, because it affirms what we already feel, so we don't check it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why do you think that truth is like so important and outside of like social media being like a thing now, like why do you think misinformation is like such a big issue?
um the internet is a fabulous thing.
Mm-hmm.
It gives everybody a voice.
Mm.
The internet is a terrible thing. It gives everybody a voice.
Yeah.
So um, facts are now kind of a trigger word.
Mm.
Truth is kind of a trigger word, right? Because we can find anything online that, right? You and I are talking on a Thursday, but we could probably find something online that proves that today is actually Tuesday, right? Like,
Mm.
so it's very easy to find anything online that looks legitimate that backs up what you think.
Uh-huh.
And because we now get so much of information from non-journalists,
Mm.
from people who share as an act of performance. It's called performative sharing, where we like to share stuff without checking because we want to be the first to show our friends that we knew this before them, kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
So there's the performative sharing. There's no legal reason for any of these social media platforms to regulate their content because they're not required to. They can't be
Mhm.
sued for libel the way that like, the New York Times can be. So it's kind of the perfect storm of conditions where misinformation now is going to fly around so easily, and we can create it ourselves. Like when I was growing up, if something was on a screen, it was legit because not everybody had access to a television screen.
Mhm.
It was just the ABC, NBC, CBS, the biggies, and
Yeah.
they were journalists and they had editors and they had ombudsmen, and so now anybody can create anything and put it on a screen and make it look like it was created by CNN. So what's to keep people from believing it, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot going on now, and one of the hardest things I think when you're trying to teach people about this is getting people to acknowledge like the baggage that they bring to
Mhm.
the experience of our own biases, because usually my students always say, oh, I'm completely objective, I don't have any biases. I'm like,
Yeah.
sure you don't.
Sure.
Yeah, we all do, right? We all do.
Mhm. Yeah. So like, what do you think the worst like type of misinformation is? Like about what?
That's a really interesting question because it depends. You could say that revenge porn is horrible misinformation because it damages people's reputation.
Mhm.
You could say that COVID and vaccine misinformation is the worst because it threatens public health.
Mhm.
You could say that political misinformation is the worst because it threatens democracy.
Yeah.
So um, that's a tough one to answer because all types of mis and disinformation are harmful in their own way.
Mm, for sure. Yeah. Um, so yeah, going back to like your book and stuff,
Huh?
it's like so cool to see like on your website and like all the misinformation resources you have and stuff like that, and also that like you advocate for like media literacy. Um, so could you maybe talk a little more about like your book, when and like why you started working on it? So
Yeah, that was I I only started working on it because the publisher, a wonderful guy named Dave Burgess, who wrote a book called Teach Like a Pirate.
mm,
He published his own book and had amazing success with it and started publishing other books. And he was a friend of mine, and I was complaining one night that you know I want to speak at these conferences and they put me with the librarians and I'm not a librarian and media literacy should be in every classroom. And he says, you got a book in you? And I
mhm,
said, yeah, I do. So I only wrote it because I knew that he was going to publish it. It's not like I was going to write a book and then shop it to publishers because I'm entirely too lazy, Annie. Like I would have not done. I needed the
yeah.
motivation, right?
Mhm,
Um, and what I did in my head is that I did not want it to be a textbook because
mhm,
textbooks are boring.
mhm,
I wanted it to be like a starter kit for anybody who's interested in media literacy, whether they're a middle schooler, whether they're a high school librarian, whether they're a parent, whether they're a social studies teacher, whether they're a soccer coach. Like it's accessible. So I've had sixth graders read it, I've had grandparents read it, and I like the fact that it is not a textbook. The whole idea is to make media literacy as accessible as possible. So what I did, I just kind of sat at the computer and pretended I was talking. Like I just, why is this important to me? Why did I feel like people needed to know about it? And that it just kind of spilled out. So I
mhm,
was I was very lucky that that I had a publisher before I had the book written. Very,
mhm.
very, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I couldn't have thought of that before.
You know what was something that was really interesting?
Yeah.
Um, so both the editor and the cover designer are
Um,
people I never met. And so when it came time to choose the cover, I
mhm,
said, I said, I've never done this before. You guys are the ones that sell the books. Like you pick the
Mhm.
cover. And they said, no, no, no. The cover has to match the author's personality.
Mhm.
So what they had me do, Annie, and I thought this was so interesting. They said, go to Amazon and pick out 20 book covers that you hate and 20 book covers that you love. And
Okay.
I put them together, and then you could totally see like what my style was,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
that's how they chose the cover. And I thought that was so interesting because I never met them.
Mhm.
I never met the woman who designed the cover, but I think she nailed it. It was really fun.
So cool.
I cried when I saw it the first time. I can't lie.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Um, so
You could write a book about this experience.
oh, yeah, I could.
Yes, you could.
Mhm.
Yes, you
And
could.
I will do
That wouldn't look too bad on those college applications, would
that. Yeah, no, and
it?
I'll do what you did. I'll pick the covers and, like
Yeah.
for sure, yeah. Um, so let's see. Um, so who is your role model?
Professionally or personally?
Either way.
Oh, that's a toughie. Um, there are loads of people who do media literacy 100 times better than I do.
Mhm.
Brilliant, brilliant women.
Mhm.
Um, Natasha Casey teaches in Springfield, Illinois.
Oh,
Faith Rigo teaches in upstate New York. Um, Renee Hobbs teaches in Rhode Island. Um, Julie Rouse teaches in Omaha, Nebraska. Um, there's Amy Jessel runs this fantastic media literacy organization in California.
mhm.
Um, so I am in Belina Diabru teaches. Oh my gosh, she's brilliant, and she's really active in the media literacy community. So there's a lot of people who inspire me to try to be better at teaching and better at media literacy.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as personal goes, I mean, it's my parents,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
parents, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure. Um, so what would you say yeah, that's really, really cool. So what would you say is like your favorite part of like what you do?
I have a lot of favorite parts. Um,
Mhm.
like I love it maybe a year or two after I have a student and they email me something and say, oh, Julie Smith, I saw this on Instagram and I knew that you would love it. Or commercial and I thought you might want to use it in class. Like, so it gives me the idea that they remember things
Uh-huh.
from class. So that makes me really happy. Um, I also love if I get to talk to like a parent group or a teacher group where they'll come up afterwards and say, oh my gosh, I never thought of it this way. Or if I can tell that I've gotten people excited about media literacy, um,
Mhm.
it's it's so fun to have something that you're so excited about and
Mhm.
see other people get excited about it too.
For sure.
I always kind of tease Annie that I'm in sales. I'm not as much of a teacher as I'm a salesperson. Like
Mhm.
I'm in sales for media literacy.
Yeah. No, yeah, I always hear like how like people say when they talk about like misinformation, they're like, oh, just like don't go on social media. There's just like too much like misinformation.
Well, I
It's
mean,
refreshing.
there are parts of it that are awful, but it's a part of life, right?
Mhm.
And there's this great thing in between your ears you can use as an internet filter,
Uh-huh.
right? But
Yeah.
requires effort and time, and
Mhm.
many of us don't want to spend either one of those.
Yeah. Um, so I think that's pretty much all my questions. So to
So,
like
okay, so tell me what high school are you headed into for your senior year?
oh yeah, for my junior year actually.
Oh, junior, okay.
It's New Trier High School.
It's so
Um,
which New Trier? Because there's several, aren't there?
oh really? Uh, I
Is it
mean,
New Trier East, New Trier what?
oh yeah, there's like two campuses. Um,
Okay,
oh yeah, I've heard my teachers talk about like before. But now, because yeah, but now it's like freshmen go to one campus and then
Oh, I see.
seniors go to the other one. So I'm gonna go to the one that's like closer to where I live. So that's good. So I don't have so I can like walk to school. Um
Have you thought about what you want to major in when you go to school?
Yeah, I'm thinking of something like related to biology and like um yeah, I really like science and like now I'm like kind of interested in information, so maybe like something that incorporates those or like something.
Or like science journalism?
That would be cool. Uh yeah, so something like that. Um so yeah.
Well, that's fabulous. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So, do you have any, what other questions do you have? Or we think we've covered everything you want to cover?
Um I think pretty much I think pretty much that's it. So just like
Okay.
close out, do you have like any advice for people maybe, especially like teens?
Yeah, as far as misinformation,
Mm.
remember that all of this has been around forever.
Uh-huh.
There's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation are mistakes. Disinformation is mistakes created deliberately. And
Mm-hmm.
malinformation is messages created with intent to harm, false messages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if any of your viewers are interested in this type of thing, I would encourage them to check out First Draft News, which has wonderful resources for teachers, journalists, and students. There's a great website called News Literacy Project, and they have all kinds of neat activities on there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, check your emotions. If you see a message on a platform that gets you really angry or confused or sad, that's the first check. You should probably verify that, check it
Uh-huh.
for authenticity if it gives you a strong emotional response. Remember that a lot of misinformation typically has a tiny little nugget of truth, but real reputable news organizations will never tell you to make something go viral, will never use all caps, will never use lots of exclamation points, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and remember that anybody can create anything. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a feature and a bug. So
Yeah.
um, and just acknowledge your own biases that you bring to the experience. That's probably the biggest piece of advice.
For sure.
Get your news from as many sources as possible.
Mm. So you can like verify.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that would be it for today.
All right.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was
Oh,
really fun.
you bet. And thank you so much for asking me. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And I wish you the best of luck.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Stay in
Bye.
touch, okay?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Bye
Bye.
bye.